Hello, everyone, and welcome to College Catholic. I'm your host, Carl Williams, and normally I interview people like priests, deacons. Me, I know there was one time they interviewed the abbot of a monastery, but today's a little different. Today we're spotlighting somebody who kind of more or less activating and fighting this horrible disease as known as breast cancer and more specifically IBC. And I'll go ahead and let her introduce herself and give us a little bit more of what she's fighting with.
Hi. Okay, so my name is Kelly McLean, and um, I have IBC. IBC is inflammatory breast cancer, and I'm advocating for it because I I found this out at almost stage 4, and I'd never heard of inflammatory breast cancer before, and it basically came on like really rapidly, and it was misdiagnosed 4 times. I just Googled the symptoms that I was having, and it just kept pointing to this disease called inflammatory breast cancer. And I wanna advocate for it because there's no signs until stage 3 or stage 4, and um, it doesn't even present a lump. It's a totally different disease, and they say that it's very rare, but I'm hearing more and more cases about it, and I have an 8-year-old daughter and nieces and cousins and everyone, and I don't want anyone to not know the signs and what to watch for.
So, what what are doctors kind of try to do to diagnose this disease?
Well, typically, for breast cancer, for any type of breast problem, they would do a mammogram. However, with inflammatory breast cancer, it does not detect it. A mammogram alone will not detect it. So it's necessary to get a biopsy, which is where they basically just take a sample of the tissue and they study it under a microscope. And that's how they're able to see that it's IBC.
Now you say how often is it that they catch this early?
Um, and up till about 10 years ago, no one even knew that it existed. So they have not been able to catch it early at all yet. There's been no reported incidents where they've caught it in stage 1 or even stage 2.
If you can run through some of the signs and symptoms and all that, like what do they look for when somebody comes in and says, "Hey, I think I might have this."
Okay, so usually when a woman comes in, the breast is swollen, and it could appear to look like a bug bite that got infected. It also mimics mastitis, which is a common breastfeeding disorder where the milk ducts get clogged and it causes the breast to swell, and it becomes really painful and red, and it has all the same symptoms. But um, the difference is IBC is potentially fatal, whereas mastitis is easily treated with antibiotics. Um, some of the signs, for example, me personally, my breast just got really enlarged, and it was very painful, and my bra strap was leaving an indentation on the breast itself, and I could actually push in on it, and it would stay in like when you push in Play-Doh, and it stays in like that. Um, some of the other symptoms would be a breast that appears discolored, red, purple, pink, or bruised, redness, rash, or blotchiness on the breast, a warm feeling in the breast, may feel hot or warm to the touch, a tender, firm, or enlarged breast, sometimes overnight. That's basically how it happened with me. It was like really, really rapid. Um, It said persistent itching of the breast, not relieved with any kind of cream. Um, the nipple may actually flatten or retract and kind of turn in on itself. Um, a consistent pain or soreness of the breast. I had like a really sharp stabbing pain. Um, and then a hardened area in the breast, not a lump. Uh, it's more it's more of a skin thickening. They call it orange depew because it begins to look like the peeling of an orange. How the orange has the little dimples. It's because the way that the IBC grows, it doesn't grow in clumps. It grows in nests, and so they form a skin thickening, and then the outer skin begins to look like the peeling of an orange. That's as easy as I can explain it. Um, you may also have the lymph nodes swelling under the arm or above the collarbone, swollen or crustaceous skin on the nipple, a change in color of the skin around the nipple, a discharge from the nipple sometimes, and then the orange depew skin. Those are the classic signs of IBC.
Now, from what I understand, a lot of doctors kind of have trouble diagnosing this sometimes because of, like you said, it's a lot. It's can be more or less, what's the word I'm looking for? Difficult to, that's what I was thinking. Difficult con- to diagnose because because it looks like so many other like simple diseases and like infections and all that. And as I understand, you had a lot of those difficulties as well. If you can kind of go through that a little bit and describe how your process was of getting diagnosed.
So basically, I went to a program that offered free mammograms to women that didn't have insurance, and I stood in line, and I got to the beginning of the line, and the first thing they did was look at me and ask me how old I was, and I said I was 36 at the time. I'm 38 now. I've been battling for a little over 2 years. Um, she looked at me and she said, "You're not old enough. We can't help you." And I started to cry, and I just said, "Could you please just look at it?" And she looked. She said, "Look at what?" I said, "Could you just please look at my breast? It really hurts." And she looked at me and the lady that was standing next to her, and they just looked at each other like they knew something was wrong. And they said okay, and they took me into the back room, and they did an examination right then, and they both, I could tell by the looks in their eyes that they knew something wasn't right, but they both tried to reassure me and tell me that it was more than likely just a breast infection like mastitis or a bug bite or anything but IBC. And they set me up for a mammogram on Monday. It was on Friday, and they told me that if I had pain over the weekend, they told me that if I had pain over the weekend to go to the local ER. And of course, it was very painful, so that's what I did. I went to the ER, and in the ER over the weekend, they diagnosed me with mastitis and began me on a 2-week round of antibiotics. I still followed up on Monday and went for the mammogram. When I went for the mammogram, she immediately I asked if this mammogram would pick up IBC, and she turned around and looked at me and said, "So you're expecting the worst?" I said, "No, I'm trying to prepare for what it could be." And she said, "Well, if the mammogram picks up anything, then we'll call you back. We'll make an appointment for you to come back, and we'll do an ultrasound and look into it further." So, okay, I sat in the waiting room after the mammogram was over, and within 5 minutes, they were coming out and telling me I needed to go to ultrasound. So I went to ultrasound and did that immediately, and they did exam on this breast, and it was completely fine. and they looked at the other one, and the screen just lit up with the reds and the blues and all the colors, and they were telling me, oh, it's just blood flow and oxygen and things like that, don't worry. But I knew that something wasn't right. And that's one other thing with IBC, is that it tends to be in one breast only, and it doesn't tend to recur. If you have a recurrence, it doesn't tend to go to the other breast. That's why I did a bilateral mastectomy. I didn't have them both removed. I only had the diseased one removed. So they did the ultrasound, and the doctor came in, and they said, we're going to need to set you up for a level 2 mammogram with a biopsy, which is how they would detect if it was IBC for sure. So I did that. They set me up an appointment for to go and have this level 2 mammogram done with a biopsy. When I went for that, about 3 days later, when I went for that, I asked the doctor then as well, and I went in with papers saying that I was highly suspicious for inflammatory breast cancer. When I was diagnosed by this doctor, I can't say the names now because there's some issues behind their misdiagnosis. They told me that I had ductal carcinoma in situ, stage 1, and they documented the swelling, the fluids. They documented it as skin edema, which just is basically just swelling under the skin. And you want to hold that for a second? And so, when she called me in for my results, that's what she told me. That's what the doctor diagnosed me with, was stage 1 ductal carcinoma in situ. And she asked me if I had any questions, and I said, well, I was prepared for a lot of questions for IBC, but I don't even know what this is. And she told me then I didn't have IBC. So that's when the battle began with the insurance and the doctors and things. And from that point on, I had to basically get an oncologist to see me until I was approved for Medicaid. I seen a doctor. I won't say the name of the hospital, but I seen an oncologist, and she refused to do the final test to document that I had inflammatory breast cancer, even though she herself knew what I had and stated what I had. She refused to do the final test until I had insurance, so I had Medicaid. And this program that had brought me in and had helped me out this far had paid for everything. They paid for my port to be installed. Everything was set up saying, okay, she does have inflammatory breast cancer. Like, they had already went and told the other hospital that diagnosed me with a stage 1 ductal carcinoma. They had told them, no, she does in fact have inflammatory breast cancer. And so I was given, the runaround with the insurance, and I ended up having to wait over a month for my chemo. And in that month, the tumors doubled in size, and I basically to make a long story short, I finally got insurance. I finally got Medicaid, and that's when they began the treatment for the IBC. And I can tell you what all they did. I did 18 rounds of chemo, followed by the bilateral mastectomy, and then I did 30 radiations and a year of Herceptin. And after that, before I did the radiation, I felt something wasn't right. I felt that I was having pains that just were unexplainable, that I shouldn't have been having after I'd had all that treatment. And I ended up demanding a PET scan, and a PET scan checks you from head to toe so that they can see if you have cancer anywhere else. And I just felt like that it had possibly metastasized, and that means it's moved on to somewhere else in your body. And so I ended up I ended up being switched to MD Anderson, and that's who I'm seeing now. And they basically have told me that the previous hospital that had me, at that point I was curable, and because they didn't do the care right and the follow-up care and the scans in between and things like that, they have caused me to go from curable to incurable, and have given me a 1% chance to beat this disease. But I have a lot of faith in God, and I believe that cancer is just a name, and God is the name above all names. And I will fight it, and I will beat it. I am stage 4 now, with liver metastases. That means it's growing there in my liver now. And I have started chemo again, and I will be taking chemo forever, is what I was told, every 3 weeks. And I traveled to Houston, Texas to get that, and I'm leaving next week for my next round.
As you see, we have their pretty much banner here for the Facebook page supporting her. You can find that at IBC close quotations. Oh, open quotations. Silent but deadly. Close quotations. So, and also I understand that you have a. I'm not sure if it's a GoFundMe or another funding website that you
Yes,
have.
yes. There's a couple of GoFundMe's that some friends have set up for me. They're also will be posted on this site, but they're on my main Facebook page right now, and that's just Kelly Sudeth McLean. So anyone can friend me, and I'll accept the friend request. We came down to Golden Meadow to be with my family, because I thought that I was in remission. Well, actually, they don't. With IBC, there's no such thing as remission. They call it NED, which means no evidence of disease, which means there's no signs that it's growing or spreading. So I thought I was in that stage, and when when we came down here in December, we we've been back and forth from Texas and Louisiana, 3 times from December to January. Uh, well, December to mid-January, because had I had to get my 6-month follow-up in the beginning of January, and I thought that I was going to talk about reconstruction, and to see if they felt they needed to remove the other breast, and that's when I was told that there was um, there was actually active cancer left in my lymph nodes. That when the previous hospital treated me, they didn't remove all the cancer. They removed 24 lymph nodes, and they only tested 4 of them, and those 4 tested positive, and they didn't test anymore. I guess because of the minimal insurance that I had, so they just didn't. And the doctor says, my oncologist now says that they should have tested them all, and that they would have seen that they needed to remove more. And so therefore now I'm back in a battle against cancer, and I'm stage 4 now, and um, I have no choice but to go back and forth, because he said that I'm not stable, and I'm not to a point where I should be trying to switch doctors again. They're the experts on this. They're like the top in the country for inflammatory breast cancer research.
Okay, so this is why I advocate for IBC, because I feel like that if we raise awareness and we can find a true percentage, then we can find IBC in stage 1 or stage 2 and give people hope for a future. This is all because of hers. This is my family. This is my husband, my son, my daughter, my cousins, my nieces, and I've taught them all about IBC, so they all know the signs and what to watch for, and they'll never be victims of this kind of treatment. Because of her!
Because of her!
And that concludes another Catholic episode. I'd like to thank you for watching. And also, there are links to her GoFundMe's, and also her Facebook page in the description. So go and like those and support her and all.